All right, I am back, part 2. I may have to upload these separately, so that's probably what I'm gonna have to do, because when I've cut clips before and had to edit it back together, I have a hard time getting any videos to export on my phone or the iPad. So yeah, this will probably just come up as a second video. So I was showing you my Dimensions kit before I heard my son. I've just got his audiobook started, and that usually puts him to sleep in a few minutes. So I'm really hoping he naps, because he played out in the sun all morning in the pool. So usually that wears him out, and if he doesn't nap after that, then whoo, it's a whirlwind. And it's already been quite a whirlwind day. So anyway, I was showing you the coffee shop. Sorry, I don't remember who the lady was. Exo something. She was great. Really enjoying her Flosstube. Can't believe I can't remember what her Flosstube is called, but I'll put it down in the description. And yeah, this is my progress so far. I feel like it looks like I've done nothing. Like, that's the thing that, oh, it's upside down. The thing that annoys me is, like, it doesn't really seem like there's much progress. But I know I already put multiple hours into it. So, but it is fun. I like the fact that it goes back and forth between full and half stitches, which I don't know if I've done much of. So yeah, so there's that. And then, so that's my new starts. And then I have my whips. So my whips I want to show you. We have a printer now that actually has ink in it. We switched printers from like a traditional where you put the cartridges into an Epson printer, which I'm sure there's other brands that have these as well, but it's an eco tank. So you put in your own ink, but it's not like, I think there's an older version where you put in your ink, like from a couple decades ago, that is a mess. And you get ink everywhere, but this is literally, it comes with ink bottles, and it's like 90% more efficient, like on your ink. So like one bottle of ink replaces 80 ink cartridge refills. And like, we're spending $60 every time I want to replace the ink. And the way our printer was working, you couldn't just replace one color. So you're talking about, you would end up wasting ink in containers because you had to take out not fully emptied cartridges if they didn't empty at the same rate. So wasteful, so much scrap junk. Like, we live in a world that we're gonna, you know, have things that we throw away and things that we don't recycle because you can't, and things that, you know, you produce waste. It's real life. But if we can limit that, why wouldn't we? As well as it's much friendlier on the pocketbook. So anyway, got a new printer, all that to say. And because of the way the ink works, you can print so much in color, which I have strictly been a print in black and white for so many years, unless I absolutely need it to be in color, because yeah, the cost difference in cartridges. But this, I am just having my heart's content printed. So this is by a new creation studio. Allison designs some beautiful patterns. She gifted me this last year sometime, I don't remember. So this is my Soul Finds Rest. And I just love this verse. I have a friend who, her and her sister, their whole family went through some really heavy stuff last year. And so I am stitching it up, and I'm not sure actually if it's for my friend or her sister yet, but it's been really sweet to have the verse in front of my eyes personally, just to be reminded and encouraged by. My soul finds rest in God alone, because I think oftentimes we try to find rest in self-help and in doing more and self-care and and I think those things are really important, but they don't give the ultimate peace. So I like having this in front of me. And believe you me, I am about self-care, because that's what cross stitching is for me. So it's so wrinkly, sorry guys, but it's been a little while since I've worked on this whip, but I got back into it. I got this whole flower motif done. Look how beautiful that is. Like, isn't that just so pretty? Like, there's like 3 shades of blue in there. I think 4, and I haven't done the center yet. But I continued over here, got a little more flowers done. I think I hadn't had this done by the last time I showed you guys. So I'm just loving it. I love font, I'm realizing. I absolutely love font. I didn't expect that for some reason. So yeah, this one's really, really fun. I enjoyed stitching the letters better than the border. of all the florals and stuff, but it's so pretty that I think it's worth still stitching the border. I'm still enjoying it. So yeah, so then my next whip is the Dreaming of Summer Sal by Love Poppet, and I haven't stayed up one bit. I started when they started. I think I bought my pattern like right before it released, like the day of or something like that, like right in the same day or two. And I was doing so good. And then, yeah, so this is how far I've gotten. And I've definitely done my own color conversions. I don't have the floss with me to show you. It's down in the bag. I know for sure that the red is not the same. I don't remember if I changed anything else. But I am really enjoying it. I didn't love the orangey color at first when I first started on one of them. But then as it's filling out more, I like it more and more. I assumed when I saw you know how when you do a mystery style, it's like a lot of it's like blurred out or all of it's blurred out. Well, I assumed when I saw the shading of the colors and I saw that there was flowers in the center, I thought, oh, it's going to be flowers in a basket. Well, it is not. And it is. We have progressed to a house. So cute. And then there's more flowers. And I love me some miniature stuff. So a tiny house amongst flowers, beautiful. So you can tell I have a ways to go still yet, but I am enjoying stitching on it when I get around to it. I forget about it. I had to dig it out of the bottom today actually. So, but they've just released like middle of June, I think it was. They released the third part. So there's 2 more parts to come. So I would love to catch up. I doubt that's going to happen, but I figure I'll just keep stitching on it. And I really like it. So then I have one more whip, which is my Martha sampler, which is the replica stitch of Grandma's 1946 pattern that she did, and she stitched up. So this is, I have a whole video about it that I charted it all up, and the pattern is available in my shop if you want to join us. I'm using the hashtag on Instagram, Martha's Sampler. So Martha's plural, like with the S, and then sampler. So words, my brain just froze. I saw Renewing Stitches is stitching it, and she's stitching it in all monochrome, but she's doing it with a variegated blue. So she showed it on her Flosstube, I think it was just went up yesterday. And if you haven't watched Renewing Stitches, I just found her, but I got tagged by her or whatever, where she was showing my my pattern. And so I went and watched, and I just enjoyed so much listening to her talk and seeing what she was stitching. She has such a sweet voice to listen to. So if you haven't checked her out, I would encourage you to. But she is stitching it in all blue. So this is, you know, Grandma was living in Holland during the war when she, I believe, stitched this. 1946. She was still in Holland at that time in 1946, but the war was over. But I assume she did not stitch this all in 1 year, but I could be wrong. So either right around sometime in the war as a teenager or right at the end. She would have been 17 or 18 when she finished this. So in Holland, there's something called Delft Blue. So I mocked up the pattern all in color, as close of a replication as I could to the one that's actually stitched really large in my mother-in-law's house now. But I also mocked it up in monochrome so that if somebody wants to do it to replicate the Delft Blue look, they could do that. And I'm so excited how Renewing Stitches is doing it in the variegated. So anyway, it'll be cool to see the progress. And so this is my progress. Use my book here. Maybe. So I got started yesterday on this band. And I'm really enjoying it. I really like the addition of this band. It just changes something for me. It replicates this enough that it just makes my brain happy. So I'm really enjoying that one. It is slower stitching for me. It's a lot more counting, this band is, versus this one is a lot easier. But I love things about this pattern just in that, like, I kept it as close to Grandma's original as possible. Even where there looked like there was mistakes in the pattern, I kept them. But like here, So it's, you know, the blue, then the red diamonds, blue, red diamonds all the way. And then into the middle, this diamond is half red and then goes half blue. And then it's blue diamonds all the rest of the way. And the ovals are red. So it swaps. So I just love that kind of detailing. I think she's designed such a beautiful piece. So I'm really enjoying stitching that. And it's fun to just look over at Josh and be like, hey, does this still look like Grandma's sampler? And to see his smile, it's cool. So if you are stitching this, I know a couple of you have bought the pattern. If you are stitching it, I would love to see your progress photos. And I absolutely think that my mother-in-law would too. So I will happily share those with her if you want to pass them on to me to show her. So that is all my new starts and whips. I have a little bit of haul. Not a little bit, more than usual. So I had the 2 fabrics. This one's the one that I already cut for the birth sampler. And then I double ordered. Not sure how I did that, but I'm not mad about it. So I also got all the called for flosses with that, but I don't have those right here with me. So that was my 1, 2, 3 stitch order. It's been quite a while since I've ordered from them. So that was a fun package to get in the mail. And then my friend Katie had some supplies, I think maybe from when she was a kid, but she's not using them. And so she passed on to me a little bit of Ada as well as a hoop. And this one, I really like the what's that called? The tightener. That felt like a Patrick moment right there. If you've ever watched SpongeBob. Anyway, it says it's a number 7 hoop. But it just tightens really well and it has a lot of movement, which is really nice. Like I find with the wooden hoops, I love them, but if you tighten them just a hair too much, stuff will pop. So I'm actually really enjoying stitching with this the last couple of days since I got it from my friend. So on Saturday, I did go to a yard sale at a church that I went to last year, maybe the year before. And I love church yard sales because I feel like people just donate a bunch of stuff and they're just looking to get rid of it. So the prices at church yard sales are usually really good. So they did have some crewel kits, but they looked like they had been ripped open in the back. So sometimes I've sold those kind of kits on my Etsy shop when I find them and they're in good condition and they're sealed, because I don't do crewel, but I know that people do and really enjoy it. And I have sold a couple of kits on there before, but they weren't in great condition, so I left them behind. I don't think there was any other cross stitch, like counted cross stitch. There was some like cross stitch that was like where they've, like in the 80s or 70s, they printed it onto fabric, but it's the big crosses, like they're quite large. Anyway, I left that stuff behind, but I did find some Ada for $1 a piece. So this one is, well, we're gonna call it baby blue and dark blue because I don't see any labels. But I really liked the colors and they're both 14 count. So I will probably use these for one or two things, Christmas or maybe both, depending if I have enough. Josh plays D&D. And if you know, you know. D&D can have a million accessories and little things you can do with it. And Josh asked me for some bookmarks because I cross-stitched him that bookmark for Christmas. And he's like, you think you could cross-stitch me some D&D bookmarks? Because he has like a character book and all this stuff. And I was like, you just asked me to cross-stitch for you? I would love to cross-stitch for you. I'm always looking for, oh, you want me to cross-stitch for you? Okay. More reason to cross-stitch, right? Like I don't need help, but it's fun when somebody asks. So, I mean, he always admires my work and gives feedback on patterns and is always really encouraging with it. But it was kind of fun for him to be like, will you stitch me something? So that's probably what I'll use that fabric for. And then one of the days that we had a house showing during the middle of the week, we had one on the Monday night and then we had one the next morning at like, well, I don't know, 10 or 11 that morning. So I needed to get Justin out of the house. And what I'm finding is since he can walk, he is into everything. I had this delusion in my head that it was going to be easier once he could walk. Oh no, certain things are easier, but keeping my house semi-tidy is like not easier. So basically when we have a showing, we get the house as ready as we can and then we leave and stay gone. So like when we dropped Josh off at work that morning, we just went ahead and drove on up. So there's an indoor playground that has lots of like little play kitchens and cars and all this stuff. He had a blast and there's a fabric store next to it. So he rode around in the buggy. playing with my water bottle while I looked at their cross stitch stuff, and they actually had a fair amount, tons of beautiful fabric, but I didn't even delve much into it because one, I don't need fabric right now, and two, because I knew his time limit was limited of how long he'd be patient with me. So I got one skein of a yellowy gold color that I want to try on a pattern because I'm not happy with the color I'm currently using that I made the pattern, which I've been stitching on, and I didn't show you today because I am not happy with it. So once I'm happy with the colors and the how it's looking, then I will share it with you. I'm hoping to release it in July as a little Christmas in July, Jolly July pattern. But anyway, at the fabric store, I've never been in this one. I've just looked in the windows before, but it was always closed. I got some Aida. So I got, these are 18 count. I got 2 of these, which in a second, I'm going to show you my little adventure that I did with one. And I've been wanting to attempt hand dyeing, but I wanted to use natural resources to do it. Natural ingredients, natural flowers, leaves, that kind of thing. So I bought 2 of these, and I figured, I mean, Aida is really cheap, and I didn't want to spend a lot of money on something that if it didn't turn out well, that I'd wasted a bunch of money. So I bought these for like $5 a pop, and I felt comfortable just going wild and dyeing. So I'm gonna dye this one, but I haven't decided what I'm gonna use yet. I'm kind of leaning towards like chili or paprika, but we'll see. I have not decided yet. So I also got another floss for my Christmas pattern that is a metallic. It's not Kreinik brand, and me not knowing if everything that was metal would be called Kreinik or not, bought it. And then I got home and was researching it. It's totally basically like, I don't know if it's DMC brand, I don't remember. I think it is DMC. It's like the DMC equivalent of Kreinik, if I'm understanding, because I don't think Kreinik is DMC as far as I can tell. I know so little about Kreinik, except for that everybody hates stitching with it because it's a pain in the butt. I didn't mind too much. The stitches lie a little weird compared to like regular floss, but I was planning on using it throughout an entire ornament, and I don't think that I want to stitch an entire ornament with it, and I don't think if I sell a pattern with it in there that fully that a lot of people would. So here's the question of the day, and if you answer, you're under no obligation to buy my pattern. I'm just genuinely wondering, do you enjoy stitching with metallic floss? And do you stitch with DMC metallic, or is Kreinik another one that you use? Why or why not? What are your tips and tricks? I am so curious. You can answer one or all of those questions. I'm so curious because I didn't hate it like I thought I would, but I also don't love it. So I'm like, is there a place for this metal thread in my life or not? Anyway, so at the fabric store, I bought 28 count Monaco. It's an even weave. And I don't think it gives a color. I was trying to find it because I also bought 28 count even weave. These are by DMC, and there's no difference in the name. So you would think, I always thought Monaco was the coloring. Like I thought this was Monaco. The more like sandy brown color. Don't know. So, yeah. So anyway, that's the rest of my haul there. And these are just so I have more fabric and stash. And I like buying local if I can, if I have that option, but I oftentimes don't because I have to drive quite a ways. But anyway, those are fun to pick up. I don't have any plans particularly for them, but I like having more in stash. So when I'm ready, I can just grab some. And then the last thing I wanted to show you is my dye project. So I use cinnamon to dye some Aida. This is 2 different pieces that sat in the dye at 2 different times. This has been machine washed with Tide Free and Gentle, I think is the laundry soap. I've posted about it on my Instagram, like a 10 minute little video just to explain how I did it. And then I posted a cute reel that is of no educational value, but it's fun to watch in my opinion. But I just want to talk about it on here because you may not be on Instagram, may not have seen it. You can dye fabric with cinnamon. Is it color fast? I got that question. I was like, what does color fast mean? Because in my head, I was like, is this color gonna stay? Color fast means your color stays when you wash it, as best I can understand. So this is, I'll fold it in half here so maybe the light won't shine too much. This is the result of about 3 hours soaking. And if I block the light with my head, soaking in cinnamon water. So real quick, the steps, all that I did was I used pickling salt, but what I read online was just regular salt, but pickling salt is what I had a bunch of. So I used 1/2 cup of pickling salt in a big metal bowl, like these ones up here on my shelf there. I don't know how much water it was, but basically what I think you need is to soak it. You need it just all like covered in it. And I only left it for like 10 minutes and while I was getting the rest of the stuff ready. And then I took a big 15-liter pot and filled it 2/3 of the way full, 3/4 of the way full, somewhere around there. And then I dumped in 3 tablespoons of ground cinnamon powder, nothing special about it, just, you know, from Walmart. And then I stirred that in there, and then I brought it to, put it on high, and I put my fabric into the water. And when I put it in the water with the salt, I put it in with hot water. I did read that was important for it to be hot. I did not find a good tutorial. If there is one, I would love to see it because I would love to check my steps by it and see what differently they've done. But I could not find a good one, but I found little bits here and there of people dyeing stuff. And that was one thing I kept reading was the salt or vinegar bath was important. And so then I put it into the cinnamon water in the pot, brought it up to a boil. I don't know if that's important or not, but I did it and it worked. In my head, when you boil things, that's when you oftentimes see the color leaching out. So that's why I chose to boil it, because I thought, okay, maybe that will get the color to really release or break the spices up some. I don't know if it does a thing. So I brought it up to a boil, and then once it was boiling, the fabric like rises up and you have to push it down, and then I turned it down to the lowest setting on my burner, which, by the way, distracted moment here. Do you call your stove burner where you put your pot on it, do you call that a burner? Do you call it an eye? What do you call it? Because I've never heard a Canadian call it an eye, but growing up, you'd say, I got a pot on the eye, I gotta go inside, check on my dinner. Like, oh, go put a pot on the eye and we'll boil some broccoli, whatever. Like, we called it an eye, and I don't know why, because it has 4 of them. Most stoves do. So I would love to know. It's not necessary for life, but I'm just curious. What do you call it? Because Josh was like, what are you talking about when I asked him to put something on the eye? Because I didn't even say, can you put it on the eye on the stove? It was just, oh, can you turn the eye on? Like, what? Anyway, so this is the piece that was in there the next day. So what I did was I turned my water off boiling or off low. And I took this fabric out. I rinsed it out in hot water until I got all the cinnamon off, because a lot of cinnamon stuck to it. And then I rinsed it in cold water after several rinses in hot water, or like very warm, if not hot water. So then I laid that out to dry, and I left the pot of cinnamon water on the stove for the next day. And then the next day, what I did was I stuck this scrap piece that my friend had, which is big enough to do a small on, but I thought, oh, let's just use it as a test subject here. And I did it again. I soaked it in water with salt, the pickling salt, and then I added more water to the pot, like another 1.5 cups maybe, because a lot of the water had evaporated. So the difference the next day was a lot of water had evaporated. So I added some more. I didn't add any more cinnamon. And I let this on simmer for like 6 hours. So one thing I'm wondering is, could you do the exact same process without ever heating it up? Do you need it to boil? Or once you boil it and the hot water is heated and everything's starting to release, if that's what you need, can you take it off the heat and just let it sit and soak in it? Because I think people have dyed fabric for years, like in ancient times, just in cold water, but I'm not sure. So I'm gonna probably keep playing around with fabric as I have the time and the brain space, but this is a difference, which is kind of cool that this was cut at an angle anyway, like just a scrap piece. So it is a fair bit different. And the darker one is the one that had less cinnamon in the water, but it soaked for longer. So you could probably put less cinnamon in your water to start with and just soak it longer. But you are using the electricity. So whether this is a cost-effective versus just buying already dyed fabric, I don't know. It's more natural. It did smell really good afterwards until I washed it in the washing machine. By the next day, the first one I had dyed, definitely he was losing the scent. So I think over time, it would lose the scent. But if you're allergic to cinnamon, I wouldn't do it. But you already know that. But I just wanted to find more natural options. I had originally started out to dye that day, to dye it with peony leaves, because I had read that peony leaves will dye things in indigo color. And I think where you can see that evidenced is because I put peony leaves in there. I had my fabric soaking in the water, and then the peony leaves didn't seem to be releasing any colors into the water when I was boiling it. And so I had thrown my fabric in, was waiting, nothing happened. And so I pulled it out and then started my water over and put the cinnamon in. I was like, well, I'm gonna dye something today. But this is here, and I don't know where this came from because it wasn't on the fabric before. And I don't know if something on the tongs or whisk that I used got on it. And there's another spot here too. But I almost wonder, and it's not super dark, and I'll be fine. I'll stitch over it. It's not the end of the world to me. But there's almost a bluey gray color to it. I don't know if it's showing up or not. I almost wonder if the leaves just needed more time and would have released an indigo color. So I think I'm gonna harvest some indigo leaves, good grief, some peony leaves, and try again, and see if I can dye something like really dark blue or purplish. That'd be cool. So I hear my son, his storybook apparently has not settled him for naps, so I'm gonna go rock him to sleep. And I hope you guys are enjoying your stitching, enjoying your summer, or if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, enjoying either in your fall or in your winter. Either way, I hope you're enjoying. And I hope you stitch something today that makes you smile. And I hope you can find peace and joy and rest in living day to day. And I don't have any scripture or liturgies to read with you today, but I hope that your heart is encouraged by the truth of the gospel. And yeah, that's all from me for now. Enjoy your next Flosstube or whatever you're going to do now. And I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.